In this video, we're going to be taking a look at Kodak Plus X. Kodak Plus X was around for about 70 years before it was discontinued around 2011. Plus X is a medium-speed 125 ISO film that was well known for its extremely fine grain and excellent sharpness. This was a film that a lot of people really enjoyed and unfortunately has gone on to the great darkroom in the sky. Luckily for me, I was able to find some Plus X that somebody's kept in their freezer since they purchased it, so probably around the late 80s, early 90s is when they got this. The film seems to have pretty much been perfectly preserved, except for maybe a little bit of base fog, but it's hard to tell because the contrast actually looks fine. Sometimes it's fun to look at these older films just because of how different they were. Like these old films were packaged in sort of a paper foil pouch, and obviously now they're plastic, so it's way different. And each film had its own individual branding, so the Plus X was magenta and yellow, and you could see that Plus X branding on the film, and that's kind of just cool to look at. For this review, I developed the film in X-Tall at 1:2, and I normally use HC110, but I ran out, so I developed the film in Rodinal as well. Here is Kodak Plus X in X-Tall, and when I looked up reviews of this film, a lot of people pointed out that they really liked the contrast, and right away that's one of the first things that stands out to me. I really like how deep the black rendered around the eyes, with the bright white highlights of the center of the eyes, and I really like the separation of the midtones in the chest and torso area. You can see the red and the blue portion of the costume, there's a distinct difference between the tones. Also, you can see that the highlights rendered very gently across the chest and the abdomen area, and I really like the softness of those tones. I exposed the film at 100, and I did anticipate that it would lose a little bit of shadow detail given the age, so I didn't go too drastic when I was exposing it. I went for about a zone 4 on the shadows, and going forward I think if I did shoot it again, I would expose it next time at an ISO of 50. That way in case I did go a little bit deeper on the shadows, there would be plenty of shadow detail there. And another thing that I noticed was that in X-Tall the grain is pretty much invisible on the film. I think the film still looks really fine grained even in Rodinal. Of course, the grain is larger in the Rodinal image, but Rodinal is that kind of developer, so that's to be expected. And even then, I think it still looks really good and fine grained enough. And the sharpness really came through on the Rodinal version. I think the lines on the body look really incredible. And the contrast was a little bit more intense with the Rodinal image, so the dark and light tones and the separation in the midtones I think rendered very beautifully on this film. I think currently on the market probably the closest thing to Plus X would be Ilford's FP4, so I don't really know how the two compare, but that might be worth checking out in the future. I can do a comparison to this video. Unfortunately, Kodak Plus X was discontinued around a time when the market for film was changing, so I think people favored a lot of the faster films, so that's probably why Plus X didn't make the cut. But I think you can see from the results that it was a tremendous film, and I would say if you're able to find some and it's been cold stored and it's for a decent price, I would definitely recommend giving it a try. In my opinion, it's a great film, and it's unfortunate that we may never see it return, but I think if it did, it would be very welcome in the film community. My question for you guys is, did you ever shoot Plus X, and after seeing this video, would you be interested in giving it a try? Let me know in the comments, and we'll see you guys next time on The Negative.